If you ever want to feel like a criminal without committing a single crime, just build a backyard pool. Trust me, you'll have sirens, accusations, and a suburban meltdown faster than you can say cannonball. There I was, dripping wet in my American flag swim trunks, holding a half-eaten popsicle, when two cops pulled into my driveway like I had just robbed a bank. One officer, trying way too hard not to laugh, asked, "Sir, are you the homeowner?" Before I could answer, a banshee screech filled the air. "He's not allowed in that pool." Karen, standing there, arms flapping like she was trying to take off, face the color of a ripe tomato, practically vibrating with indignation. She jabbed a trembling finger at my backyard and shrieked, "That's a community pool, and I wasn't invited." The second cop, clipboard in hand, stifled a chuckle. "Ma'am, and that's his private pool. In his private backyard, he can literally cannonball into it while singing the national anthem if he wants to." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a confused goldfish. Her face twisted, redder than a stop sign. She turned to me, eyes burning with rage. "You'll regret mocking me. I was HOA president," she shrieked, like that title gave her superpowers. And that, my friends, is how my relaxing Sunday swim turned into a police report, because Karen didn't know I had the nerve to enjoy something she couldn't control. Leave a comment below to let us know where you are watching from, and if you like fascinating stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow we have another incredible story, and there are many surprises waiting for you in the next parts. It all started so peacefully. I had spent 2 long, sweaty years saving every extra penny to turn my dusty backyard into a little slice of paradise. Nothing fancy, not some resort monstrosity with waterfalls shaped like dolphins. Just a clean, curved saltwater pool with a small stone trim. A peaceful little waterfall, and enough room for 3 floaties and a lazy afternoon nap. I had dreams, man. Dreams of sitting under an umbrella with a good book, the sound of water trickling beside me, the occasional distant lawnmower reminding me that life was simple and good. But somewhere out there, the universe heard my plans and thought, "You know what this guy needs? A Karen." And boy, did I get a Karen. Full throttle, deluxe model, noise-canceling common sense optional. The moment the contractors finished the final touches, smoothing concrete, filling the pool, testing the saltwater system, she appeared like a bad omen. "You didn't get this passed through the HOA?" she shrieked from behind her suspiciously clean white fence. I tried to be civil. I even smiled. "Hi, Karen. Hope you're having a good day. I have all my city permits, and my property isn't actually part of the HOA's jurisdiction." She sneered, nose tilted so high I thought she might fall over. "You may have escaped this HOA," she hissed, "but you still live in my neighborhood." Her sense of authority practically had its own zip code. Later that day, I found a piece of paper shoved under my door. Official looking, but the font was Comic Sans, and the HOA seal was so blurry it looked like someone sneezed on it. It demanded a fine for unauthorized aquatic structure, payable directly to Karen Blake. Yeah. She even signed her full name like she was the Queen of England issuing a royal decree. Since when did buying a backyard pool feel like declaring independence from a tyrant? I wasn't just swimming anymore. I was apparently launching a full-scale rebellion against the suburban monarchy. Karen wasn't protecting the neighborhood from danger. She was guarding her ego like it was the last piece of cheesecake at a church potluck. It didn't stop at fake fines. Oh no. Karen cranked the crazy to 11. The next day, she was on her porch with an iPad, filming me like she was auditioning for a low-budget reboot of Surveillance Wars. I heard snippets of her furious muttering, noise violations, visual hazard. Visual hazard? Lady, it's a pool, not a radioactive waste site. Then came the flyers, bright neon sheets warning the neighborhood of unlicensed water activity, child safety risks, and my favorite, wildlife contamination risks due to foreign aquatic introduction. Anyways, chlorine Karen, not a secret lab for mutant piranhas. At first I laughed, but then I noticed fewer neighbors waving hello. Parents hurried their kids past my house. Someone posted anonymously on the Nextdoor app, asking if the pool man was conducting secret water cult ceremonies. Karen's lunacy was leaking into the minds of otherwise rational people. Just when I thought the soap opera couldn't get juicier, my phone buzzed. It was Marlene, the real HOA president. She was practically laughing through the phone. "Just so you know," she said, "Karen hasn't been part of the HOA board for 5 years. We removed her after she tried to fine people for non-regulation bird feeders." Apparently, Karen had been living in a fantasy land, running a one-woman HOA resistance movement, handing out imaginary citations like Halloween candy. I thanked Marlene, hung up, and stared at my pool. This wasn't about regulations anymore. This was personal, and the war had only just begun. If you thought Karen's HOA reign ended with a few fake fines and laminated flyers, buckle up, because we were just hitting Season 2 of Karen, Civilian Court Edition. You know that moment in a TV show when the villain's plan starts unraveling, but instead of backing off gracefully, they double down into complete lunacy? Yeah, that was Karen, but with less strategy and more arms flailing like a malfunctioning, wacky-waving inflatable tube man. It started one peaceful Saturday morning. I was skimming a few leaves out of the pool, dreaming about maybe grilling a steak later, when I heard it. The unmistakable buzz of a drone. Not like a kid's toy, no, this sounded like Amazon Prime had teamed up with the NSA. I looked up, and there it was, Karen's personal surveillance unit, floating above my backyard like a flying tattletale. It hovered there, wobbling slightly, as if even the drone itself was embarrassed to be part of this nonsense. For a split second, I actually pitied the thing. Imagine being built for glorious aerial photography and ending up on HOA Karen's payroll. Tragic. I waved at it, very politely, and then, in what might be the most American thing I've ever done, grabbed my tennis racket and spiked that thing into the pool like Serena Williams arguing with a bad umpire. It made a glorious plop sound, sank like the Titanic, and for the first time in weeks, my backyard felt normal again. Karen, of course, came screeching out of her house seconds later, wearing a Boss Babe hoodie and waving her iPad like she was trying to summon Thor. "You destroyed government property," she howled. I half expected FBI agents to rappel from the sky right there. Instead, I calmly pointed at her drone, now bubbling gently at the bottom of the pool, and said, "Guess it wasn't waterproof. Huh." Later that night, she lit up the neighborhood Facebook page like it was a 4th of July fireworks show. She wrote a 900-word post, paragraph breaks apparently optional, about how I had savagely attacked her drone during an authorized community reconnaissance mission. One guy commented, "Karen's going full Black Mirror," and got 87 likes in an hour. Another neighbor posted a meme, a pigeon wearing a tiny police badge, captioned, "Karen's drone force reporting for duty." You'd think after suffering drone defeat, Karen might step back, reassess her life choices, maybe take up knitting. Nope, this was Karen. She upgraded from passive-aggressive to just plain aggressive-aggressive. She printed out bright neon flyers warning of unessential pool zone, biohazard risk, and taped them to lampposts like we were in the middle of some CDC quarantine drama. The flyers warned that visual exposure to non-HOA-approved aquatic environments could cause emotional distress and value depreciation. I couldn't tell if she was fighting my pool or describing the plot of Stranger Things. Either way, it was hilarious. Parents started joking about making their kids wear hazmat suits just to ride their bikes past my house. Someone even offered to install a decontamination station featuring a garden hose and a bottle of Dawn dish soap. And yet, because Karen operates on a logic known only to herself, she wasn't satisfied. She needed a statement. So one morning, I woke up, looked out the window, and nearly dropped my coffee. Floating majestically, dead center of my pool, was a giant 10-foot-tall inflatable flamingo. Bright pink, angrily bobbing in the sunlight like it had personal beef with me. No note, no explanation, just unhinged, aquatic decor. I stood there in stunned silence. Was it an attack? A gift? A warning from the HOA mafia? Karen finally made it clear 2 hours later when she posted, "If my neighbor insists on running a tacky water park, the least he can do is accessorize properly." Instead of losing my mind, I did the most American, Parks and Recreation approved thing possible. I went all in. I bought 2 more flamingos, added a blow-up palm tree, tossed a beach ball into the mix. At sunset, I set up a Bluetooth speaker to play Margaritaville on loop. It wasn't just a pool anymore. It was a full-blown Jimmy Buffett concert. Minus the regret. Neighbors loved it, little kids squealed, retirees walking their dogs gave me thumbs-ups. Someone left a flamingo-shaped floaty on my porch with a post-it note that said, "Pool 1, Karen 0. Karen, meanwhile, stood on her porch like a disapproving dowager countess from Downton Abbey. Arms crossed so hard it looked like she was trying to fold herself into a suitcase. You could practically hear the steam whistling out of her ears. Her response? She started conducting inspections at random, taking grainy iPhone photos of erosion damage near my flower beds, like she was auditioning for CSI Lawn Division. Then came her ultimate power move, or at least what she thought was one. She staged a fake press conference. No, really. She stood in her driveway with a handheld microphone plugged into a tiny karaoke speaker, ranting about aquatic threats to community stability, while 3 confused neighbors looked on, clutching their Starbucks like hostages. One guy whispered to his wife, "Should we call someone? Or just let her finish and see if there's a Q&A?" They decided on door 2 and started live streaming it instead. Within an hour, the video had over 1,200 views. Karen went viral, and not in the way she hoped. The comment section was pure gold. Karen's out here doing HOA TED Talks uninvited. Next week, Karen files a complaint against the Sunset for being too loud. At this point, the real HOA board stepped in. Marlene, the actual HOA chair, issued an official neighborhood-wide statement, gently reminding everyone that decorating pools, flying surveillance drones, and public address systems without consent were, shockingly, not approved community activities. Translation: Karen, sit down. But like every sitcom villain who doesn't understand they're beaten, looking at you, Dwight Schrute, Karen doubled down again. She started filing fake police reports. She accused me of hosting unlicensed water concerts. She claimed I was inviting wildlife to infest the neighborhood, which honestly I took as a compliment because everyone loves ducks, except people with cold, HOA-ruled hearts. The best part? Karen thought she was winning. She truly believed she was the noble heroine in some suburban Shakespearean tragedy. What she didn't know was that her final act was coming, and it would involve more feathers, more laughter, and a spectacular, humiliating downfall that would make the Battle of Waterloo look like a light drizzle. Because if Karen thought fighting a pool was hard, she wasn't ready for the ducks. Karen thought she'd seen battle. She thought drones and flamingos were the apex predators of suburban warfare. Oh, sweet summer child, she had no idea she was about to face a full-scale web-footed revolution. It started with a memory. Old Mr. Brennan's duck farm, about 15 minutes outside town. Brennan bred ducks and geese for pest control, bird shows, and, get this, lake beautification projects. I once helped him fix a fence after a storm. His parting words had been, "If you ever need ducks, son, just holler." I thought it was just farmer politeness. I didn't realize he meant it literally. Now, standing in my empty garage with Karen's latest fake HOA citation crumpled in my fist, I realized Brennan's offer was about to become suburban legend. I called him up. "Hey, remember when you said..." He cut me off. "How many you need?" I blinked. "All of them?" 2 hours later, I had 23 ducks and 5 geese locked and loaded in a livestock trailer. Brennan handed me a giant bag of birdseed with a grin that could only be described as slightly evil grandpa energy. He winked. "Go give 'em hell, kid." That night, when Karen was hosting her nightly neighborhood patrol meeting, Reed, her ranting at 2 very tired neighbors about pool safety and visual disease, I made my move. In the moonlight, the operation unfolded like an elite special forces drop, quiet, strategic, and absurd beyond measure. I opened the trailer gate, scattered the birdseed around my backyard, and whispered, "Freedom." The ducks poured out like feathery paratroopers. The geese strutted behind them, looking ready to file tax returns and fight crime. They owned the place within minutes. The pool was gone, but the ducks didn't care. They waddled across the patio, honking at each other, splashing in my bird bath, even investigating Karen's sad little lawn flamingos with suspicious pecks. I barely slept. Not from guilt, good Lord, no, but from the pure adrenaline of knowing that tomorrow morning was going to be the single greatest live comedy show of my lifetime. And it was. At precisely 7:02 a.m., the first shriek tore through the neighborhood like a banshee alarm clock. Karen had stepped outside, thermos in hand, ready to survey her victory over my pool, and walked straight into Duckstock 2025. There were ducks on her porch, ducks on her driveway, ducks pooping artistically on her victory for community safety sign. And the geese? They'd taken defensive positions around her inflatable pool like it was Fort Knox. One goose stared at her so intensely that Karen actually flinched and dropped her thermos. She tried shooing them, she clapped, she waved a pool noodle like she was leading a very confused marching band. The ducks ignored her. Worse, they liked the noise. It made them flap and honk more. One particularly bold duck climbed into her inflatable pool and just vibed, splashing, stretching his wings like he was the king of the HOA. The best part? Karen had no idea this was a targeted drop. In her mind, it was divine punishment, or possibly avian karma. Either way, it was unstoppable. Neighbors came out in bathrobes and slippers, drawn by the commotion. Some clapped. One man brought popcorn. Someone else live-streamed it under the caption, "Duckpocalypse Now." By the time the sun was fully up, half the block was out there laughing, dodging waddling birds, and capturing the madness for the historical archives, also known as YouTube Shorts. Karen, naturally, blamed me immediately. She marched across the lawn, duck droppings squishing under her sandals, and jabbed a trembling finger in my direction. You brought this plague upon us," she shouted, looking like a doomsday prophet who'd just gotten pied in the face. I leaned casually against my porch rail, sipping coffee, and said, "Funny, Karen. You spent months saying this was community property. Looks like the ducks just took you seriously." Karen turned purple. Actual, cartoonish purple. She spun around, waving her arms. "Animal control, police, city council, I want everyone here immediately." Animal control did show up. Eventually, they arrived to the sight of ducks sunbathing on Karen's lawn, ornaments, and a goose standing proudly atop her inflatable flamingo, like George Washington crossing the Delaware. The officer, a grizzled guy who looked like he'd seen it all and hated every second of it, sighed and said, "Ma'am, unless they're attacking people or setting fires, there's not much we can do about ducks." Karen sputtered, "They're violating property codes." The officer deadpanned, "By existing?" She demanded they be rounded up. He informed her that per local ordinance, ducks and geese were protected as part of the natural lake ecosystem. Translation, they were allowed to waddle wherever they wanted. If she so much as laid a hand on them, she would face fines for animal harassment. The look on Karen's face was the purest cocktail of rage and defeat I have ever witnessed. It was beautiful, like seeing the ending of Game of Thrones fixed correctly in real life. But the day wasn't over. Oh no. The ducks, sensing chaos like sharks smell blood, doubled down. They staged an impromptu pool party at Karen's lawn pond, complete with a conga line and synchronized flapping. The geese formed a semicircle near her driveway and just stared, unblinking, judging, while she tried desperately to shoo the ducks back toward my yard. It was like watching someone try to herd drunk toddlers. She failed, gloriously. By sunset, she'd called animal control 3 more times, the city once and the police twice. The final time, the cop who showed up just rolled down his window, looked at the scene of waddling mayhem, and said, "Nope," before driving away. Neighbors started leaving breadcrumbs and birdseed out accidentally. Kids named the ducks, adults named the geese. We became a bird sanctuary overnight, and Karen's backyard became the unwilling epicenter of the great suburban duck uprising. And you know the best part? I didn't break a single law. No drones, no flamingos, no fake tickets. Just nature. Doing what nature does best, making ridiculous people pay for their own stupidity. Karen had wanted control. Karen had wanted compliance. Karen had wanted the neighborhood to fall in line. Instead, she got 23 ducks, 5 geese, and a flamingo float that would haunt her dreams until the day she finally packed up her ceramic gnome and left for good. And trust me, her meltdown was still only beginning. The next morning, Karen escalated. I should have seen it coming. She was a woman powered by pure spite and unlimited access to low-quality clip art. At 6:00 a.m, she was out on her lawn hammering homemade signs into the ground. Warning, contaminated bird zone. Pinebrook property. No unauthorized waddling. I watched from my porch with a coffee in hand, marveling at her energy. It was like watching Wile E. Coyote set up another obviously doomed Acme trap. Except Wile E. Coyote was better at PR. Karen wasn't just trying to win the battle anymore, she wanted to exterminate the entire species. She started a petition demanding the ducks be relocated, preferably to less civilized zones, as if the ducks had somehow crawled out of a biker bar and started an illegal rave on her begonias. When no one signed her paper, she printed fake ones and taped them to mailboxes. Marlene, the actual HOA president, had to send out a group email clarifying that no, ducks are not subject to HOA regulation, and no, Karen does not, under any circumstances, represent neighborhood wildlife management. Karen didn't care. She was already deep into her villain arc, posting hourly rants on the community app, warning parents about avian aggression and feather-based pathogens. At one point, she even posted a blurry photo of a duck waddling across her driveway with the caption, "Spotted at 3:12 p.m., trespassing with clear intent. I laughed so hard I choked on a grape." But the internet wasn't done laughing yet. See, the live streams from Karen's duckpocalypse had gone viral. Janet, the neighbor who recorded the original meltdown, uploaded it to Facebook with the caption, "Karen vs. Ducks, Dawn of Quack." Within a day, it had 700,000 views. By the weekend, it was over 2 million. Memes exploded like popcorn. Photoshops of Karen leading a doomed army against a duck battalion, fake wanted, posters for robed geese, a parody event called Annual Duck Freedom Festival that somehow got 150 RSVPs on Facebook. National meme pages picked it up. One tweet said, "Imagine losing a war to ducks. Couldn't be me." Another had a picture of Karen screaming with the caption, "When you realize HOA stands for Hilarious Ongoing Avian Apocalypse." Even daytime TV shows started mentioning it. I watched an episode of The View, where Whoopi Goldberg held up a screenshot of Karen waving a broom at a flock of ducks and said, "This lady needs a hobby, maybe knitting, something without feathers." I nearly fell off the couch. Karen, predictably, did not take it well. She doubled down. She printed laminated duck-free zone stickers and started slapping them on random things like street signs, trash cans, and bizarrely, a neighbor's Prius. That backfired spectacularly when the neighbor, a 70-year-old retired Marine named Frank, stormed out in camo shorts and made her remove it under threat of small claims court. Still, Karen wouldn't stop. She tried to organize an emergency town hall against bird infestation, renting out a corner of the local library. Only 3 people showed up, 2 bored teenagers who thought it was a TikTok meetup, and a random guy who just needed a place to eat his sandwich. Karen didn't even notice. She launched into a PowerPoint presentation titled "Ducks, the Silent Threat," complete with grainy photos and ominous red arrows pointing at innocent duck faces. Meanwhile, the ducks kept living their best lives. They sunned themselves on Karen's deflated lawn flamingos. They napped on her freshly repainted driveway. One very bold goose made a nest in her rose bush and hissed at anyone who got within 10 feet. It was like watching nature install a new sheriff. And me? I stayed quiet, smiling, letting Karen burn herself out in public like a bottle rocket without a parachute. The more noise she made, the more ridiculous she looked. The more ridiculous she looked, the more the neighborhood rallied behind the ducks. The final nail came when a local news station showed up to do a lighthearted community interest story. Karen, believing it was her chance to tell her side, agreed to an interview. Big mistake. The segment aired that night. The camera zoomed in on Karen, waving her broom at the ducks, shouting about property values and aquatic terrorism, while the reporter barely held back laughter. Meanwhile, the ducks waddled majestically in the background like they were extras in a Disney movie. The news anchor wrapped the story with, in a battle of wills between suburban control and Mother Nature, sometimes it's better to just let the ducks have their day. Cut to footage of a goose honking triumphantly, absolute perfection. The next morning, Karen's house was suspiciously quiet. No signs, no rants, no patrols, just silence and ducks. Lots and lots of ducks. She thought she could fight nature, she thought she could fight memes, she thought she could fight me. But Karen forgot the one rule they teach you on every sitcom, from Parks and Recreation to Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You can't be crazy, especially when you're the one supplying all the crazy. And somewhere out there, a duck floated proudly across Karen's deflated pool toy, the true king of the HOA. In this war, it was just getting started. If you thought Karen chasing ducks with a leaf blower was peak insanity, oh buddy, buckle your seatbelt. We were only at the end of season 1, and the writer's room had just ordered 3 more seasons of chaos. After the neighborhood basically adopted the ducks like they were local celebrities, Karen decided there was no possible way this could happen naturally. No. According to her, someone had orchestrated it like a suburban version of Watergate, but with more feathers and less dignity. And of course, in her mind, the evil mastermind was me. Karen launched what she proudly called an independent citizen investigation, which turned out to be her duct taping an old disposable Kodak camera to a broomstick and poking it over my fence like she was on an undercover op in an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. One night, I caught her lurking around a lake wearing head-to-toe camouflage, whispering into a walkie-talkie that wasn't connected to anything. Pretty sure she thought she was starring in a homemade version of Homeland. Spoiler, she wasn't. Meanwhile, the ducks were thriving. Someone even made little VIP very important poultry badges and fastened them to a few of the friendlier ones, which only fueled Karen's madness. One morning, she stood on her lawn with a megaphone. Yes, an actual megaphone, declaring that the ducks were being weaponized and that our peaceful suburb was under covert avian attack. I laughed so hard I almost fell into my non-threatening, non-pagan swimming pool. But Karen wasn't laughing. She was typing. Late one night, my inbox dinged with an email titled, "Urgent, Proof of Neighborhood Subversion." It was from Karen, who clearly didn't understand how anonymous tips worked, because she signed it with her full name and a dramatic "History will vindicate me." Attached was a 17-page report titled "The Duck Coup: How a Rogue Neighbor Weaponized Waterfowl to Destabilize Suburbia." It read like someone tried to combine the X-Files with Desperate Housewives after binge-drinking 3 cans of Four Loko. Some highlights included accusations of me conducting subliminal messaging through pool float patterns, claims that the ducks were trained agents of suburban sabotage, and the truly spectacular theory that I had installed an underwater duck layer beneath the dock, complete with encrypted quack signals. Not content with just harassing my inbox, Karen decided it was time for the world to hear her truth. She organized a Save Our Suburb rally in front of her house, attended by exactly 4 people. Her sister Cheryl wearing a t-shirt that said, "I quack for no man," a confused teenager who thought it was a Fortnite pop-up shop, the mailman who looked like he hated his life, and a stray cat that wandered over, sat in a folding chair, and immediately took a nap. Karen, undeterred, stood atop an upside-down recycling bin like she was delivering the State of the Union, ranting about duck-based biological warfare, accusing me of running a rogue YouTube channel called Birds of Anarchy, and demanding the OCHE authorize a full avian probe into my property. Meanwhile, across the street, Janet live-streamed the whole thing, adding sarcastic commentary every time Karen said the word operation or rogue agent by sunrise. Karen's new title, "The Duck Whisperer Who Whispered Badly," was trending in our neighborhood Facebook group. Someone even photoshopped a fake Netflix poster, "Making a Quacker, The Karen Chronicles." Naturally, Karen escalated, because when logic fails, absurdity is plan B. She filed an official-looking complaint, typed in Comic Sans of course, demanding $15,000, 0 cents in damages, for mental anguish, duck nightmares, and emotional corrosion. She hand-delivered it to my door taped to a bag of stale breadcrumbs, which, frankly, was a nice touch. Among the charges, unauthorized avian entertainment, disturbing the peace with aquatic flash mobs, and my personal favorite, creating an unregulated duck commune. While I was still laughing, karma came tap-dancing down the street in tap shoes. The HOA announced a $5,000 0 cents neighborhood beautification grant awarded to the best backyard transformation project. I entered my new peaceful, duck-friendly deck. Guess who won? Yup, me. Full-page photo spread, neighbors congratulating me, and a very tasteful caption, "Peaceful renewal by the lake." If Karen's brain was a Windows 98 computer, you could hear the hard drive grinding and sparking from across the street. She accused the HOA of being infiltrated by aquatic sympathizers and posted a 3,000-word rant on Nextdoor accusing me of duck election interference. Someone responded with a meme of Karen standing in front of the ducks holding a handmade protest sign, "Stop the quack." At this point, Karen went into full scorched earth mode. She inflated a 20-foot blow-up gavel on her lawn with flashing lights and a sign that read, "Neighborhood justice reigns here." Less than 24 hours later, the HOA fined her for unapproved structures, noise violations, and visual pollution, which might be the most satisfying fine I've ever witnessed. Watching her deflate that monstrosity with a sad little air pump was like watching the series finale of a TV show where the villain finally trips over their own shoelaces. Meanwhile, the ducks, unbothered, thriving. One of them started nesting in Karen's rose bushes. Another became so tame he started waddling up to guests for snacks like he owned the place. My neighbor across the street started calling him Sir Quacks-a-Lot and insisted we elect him honorary mayor of the cul-de-sac. Karen had played herself into becoming the town joke, and worse, she had built her entire crusade on a house of cards made of breadcrumbs. And now, it was collapsing in slow, glorious motion. But the best part? The grand finale hadn't even started yet. Because Karen's meltdown wasn't over, it was about to go nuclear. The final showdown didn't start with fireworks, it started with a clipboard. A week after Karen's duck defeat, official notices showed up in every mailbox. Emergency HOA meeting, attendance mandatory, in bold font, underlined twice, as if the printer itself was screaming. I could practically hear Karen's voice whispering from the paper, "This isn't over." The rumor mill kicked into high gear. Some said Karen was suing the ducks. Others swore she was hiring a wildlife removal service dressed like Navy SEALs. One particularly creative neighbor claimed she bought a medieval catapult. I didn't believe any of it until I saw her yard. Karen had set up a full-blown protest camp. Handmade signs, "Stop the Birdemic," chairs, an umbrella for dramatic flair, and a suspiciously high number of granola bars stacked neatly on a table labeled "Supplies for the Resistance." If you squinted, it looked like a sad Comic-Con panel for people who hate joy. At the meeting, the clubhouse buzzed louder than a hornet's nest. Over 70 neighbors crammed into fold-out chairs, some even standing in the back. I hadn't seen this much community participation since the great barbecue sauce cook-off of 2018. People brought popcorn. Literal popcorn. Frank, the retired Marine, wore a duck hat. Someone brought a giant inflatable goose. And then, like a villain entering a soap opera funeral, Karen swept in wearing a navy blue blazer, pearls, and an expression like she'd just been handed a lemon and told it was the last fruit on earth. She marched to the front, carrying a binder so thick it could have stopped a bullet. Her head was high, her shoulders were back. Her ego? Practically levitating. She demanded the floor first. Karen opened her binder with the gravity of someone revealing ancient prophecies and launched into what can only be described as a TED Talk from the upside down. "Our community," she declared, "is under avian assault. She flicked to a page showing a blurry photo of a duck waddling near a mailbox. Our values, our way of life, threatened by unauthorized wildlife and reckless property alterations. People exchanged glances. One teenager snorted so loud Karen flinched. She clicked a remote, projecting slides onto the wall, like a Walmart courtroom drama. Graphs of imaginary duck population spikes, satellite images she clearly pulled from Google Earth, and what looked suspiciously like a photoshopped picture of me riding a flamingo float into battle. I sat there stone-faced while the audience cracked up quietly behind their hands. Karen finished with a dramatic flourish. I propose immediate action. Fines, restrictions, removal orders. We must act before this place becomes, she faltered, searching for a phrase that would terrify suburbanites, a bird sanctuary. At that moment, a real duck waddled by the clubhouse window outside, as if on cue. Someone clapped. Then another. Then the whole room erupted. But it wasn't applause for Karen, it was sarcastic, gleeful, sitcom-worthy clapping that you could feel in your teeth. Marlene, the real HOA president, stood up slowly, visibly trying not to roll her eyes into another dimension. She cleared her throat and said, "Thank you, Karen, for your passionate concerns. Now let's review the actual complaints filed." What followed was the bureaucratic equivalent of a public roasting. First, the drone footage, Karen's multiple unauthorized flights over private properties, violations of city and FAA regulations. Second, the false police reports. Third, the unauthorized signage, mailbox tampering, harassment of neighbors, and my personal favorite, the attempted rerouting of a fire hydrant at 3:00 a.m. Every time a new offense was listed, Karen shrank slightly in her seat until she looked like a doll melting under a heat lamp. They pulled up my documentation, photos, security footage, printed emails. I had receipts thicker than her fantasy HOA titles. And then, the best moment happened. One of the newer board members, a retired judge with a dry wit sharp enough to slice bread, leaned into his microphone and asked, "Karen, do you have any evidence, not obtained through illegal surveillance, Photoshop, or sheer delusion?" The room howled. Even Frank lost it and had to dab his eyes with his duck hat. Karen sputtered. She tried to pivot, claimed that the ducks were planted, that I had orchestrated a mass wildlife conspiracy. At one point, she even accused me of training the geese to be aggressive agents of property destruction, like I was running a secret avian black ops team. The judge smiled. "Duly noted. We'll put a pin in the goose special forces." By the end of the session, it wasn't about the ducks, it wasn't even about the pool. It was about how one person armed with nothing but delusion and a Wi-Fi connection tried to hijack an entire neighborhood. And the neighborhood finally said, "No thanks, Karen." The board voted unanimously. Karen was banned from holding any HOA role, formally censured for harassment, fined for property violations, and placed under neighborhood behavioral review. Which is a polite way of saying, mess around again and you're toast. When the gavel hit the podium sealing the vote, it sounded like a nail being hammered into a coffin. Karen stood there trembling, binder hanging limply from her hands. She tried one last move, the classic Karen technique, the dramatic exit. She slammed her binder closed, shouted, "You'll all regret this! You're setting a dangerous precedent!" and stormed out of the clubhouse like a soap opera villain who just realized she wasn't getting a second season. The second she left, the clubhouse exploded with laughter. Marlene ordered pizza, Frank passed out duck-shaped cookies, someone started a playlist titled Karen's Greatest Hits, featuring songs like Cry Me a River and Another One Bites the Dust. And me, I just leaned back in my chair, arms crossed, soaking it all in. The pool might have been drained, the flamingo might have retired, but the victory? That stayed floating in the air like the sweet scent of justice and freshly baked karma. Leave a comment below to let us know where you are watching from. And if you like fascinating stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow we have another incredible story and there are many surprises waiting for you in the next parts.